Hello, everyone. First things first. If you have Googled the word suicide, looked on here on YouTube and put the word suicide in because you're feeling suicidal, stop. Stop right fucking now. Click on the description and look at some of the resources that are available. National Suicide Hotline, a way for veterans to get through that, to get someone for support for them. The Trevor Project, all that information is listed there. There's text lines too if you don't want to call. If you don't want to do that now, it's fine. Just chill out. You know, you're okay. We're okay. Everything's all right. Watch the rest of the video. I'm long-winded, so it could be 10, 15, 20 minutes even. And then see if you feel any better afterwards. But we're just gonna chill out for now and listen to me yap, okay? There's been 2 celebrity suicides in the news. I know Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade. I loved Anthony. I thought he was so cool. So, kind of brought the topic up. I think I've probably mentioned vaguely, I work in like social services, human services. So when something like this happens, it re-sparks a conversation. And I've had the privilege of working with some good folks who are on a suicide awareness panel in a rural county adjacent to mine. So I have some experience with that. As a person who's had serious mental illness, I also have had personal experience with suicidal thinking and with suicide attempts. Now, before I go any further with talking about this, I want to let you know, I had stats written down, I had figures and numbers, and I kind of like threw them to the side. We've been documenting the shit out of suicide for the last, I don't know how long. The numbers are plateauing at best and rising otherwise. So that's not helping anything. And you can find all that information pretty easily. It's going to be on every freaking media site now where you can click on the link and see it. So I figured I would talk a little more about my own personal experience with it. Not glorifying it, not any of that stuff. Now, bear in mind, I'm telling the story. So this isn't, how can I put this diplomatically? I'm kind of a snowflake, but not really. So I don't like using trigger warning as like a heads up, but this is an extremely sensitive topic. So the warning is pretty much that I would never encourage someone to use sarcasm or humor with someone who they think may be thinking about hurting themselves. It's not really appropriate. But I will not be told how to talk about myself and my experiences. So there's different language people use: completed suicide, committed suicide, successful suicide. I'm not going to trip over language in this because I think it's less important than the feelings and how you might be able to help someone. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, let's see. Well, like I said, I had attempted it 3 times. I've been in an inpatient psych unit 5 times. That's more than some, less than others who deal with mental health issues on the more serious side, the ones that could be more damaging to like the quality of your life. 3 out of those 5 times, I had serious suicide attempts. They could have been deadly, have been deadly for others that I've talked to. The other 2 times, I had injured myself or had had thoughts about it and went to the hospital and they admitted me anyway. Those are more like parasuicidal. Parasuicidal is when you kind of like hurt yourself, maybe cut yourself or something. And the intention of the person, or me, was not to actually die. So it looks like a suicide attempt, but it's not. We'll get right to the heart of that. Is that a cry for attention? For me, I'm going to say yes, but. Yes, I was trying to get attention by doing it, but I was trying to draw attention to the fact that I was in a lot of pain. I felt like shit. I didn't know how to use my words to say any of that, so I was hoping by slashing myself, it'd be like, can you see something's wrong here? So, yeah. The other 3, 2 were overdose, and 1 was cutting again. So, in trying to put all that kind of in perspective, 1 was planned by me for a little bit of time. 2 of them were completely spontaneous. We talk about warning signs a lot, what to look for, and a lot of times there's warning signs, and a lot of times there's not. And not every person who attempts or completes suicide has a diagnosis of a mental illness. You're not necessarily going to be able to say, oh, they were going to a shrink or this or that. Sometimes it's like somebody had a divorce or a bad breakup. And in young people, it could be something that seems silly to an adult, like they were turned down going to the prom, and then you find them dead the next day. It's all relative when you're dealing with kids, too. This is challenging for me. It's such a huge topic, and it affects so many different groups. It's not like this group's problem or that group's problem. It's an everybody kind of problem. So, what I was thinking at the time, I do remember there was a couple thoughts that were always kind of, I'm just checking out the time here, because I don't want to drag this out too long. Some of the stuff that was going through my mind when I was thinking about killing myself, because it's known to be, people say it's a selfish act, and that's one opinion, that's one way of looking at it. It doesn't feel, I can tell you from a first-person experience, selfish at the time. In fact, it felt selfless. Let me explain that for a minute. I took notes kind of about this because it's a lot to kind of put together. My thinking as far as my family and stuff like that was, well, I was putting them through hell. I mean, it was about 6 years of rehabs, jail, psych wards, inpatient, outpatient, uppatient, downpatient, every level of care that you can be at, I was at multiple times. And my thinking was, this will take a burden off their shoulders. They'll be sad for a while, but ultimately this will be easier for them than to live like this for another 20, 30 years, because I don't think I'm going to get better anyway. And besides, they have 2 other kids. This thought was not in any way to me sick. To me, that made absolute perfect sense. And it was unquestionable, you know. I'm already so far gone. That was also in my head. There's no way for me to recover from this. I have messed up my life beyond repair. And pretty much from 24 to 30, it felt like that too. What else? Oh yeah, by the way, this is my attitude. Whoever wrote that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem can go suck a, you know. You don't need reasons when you're that close to the edge. You know, a temporary problem, all problems feel permanent. When you feel depressed like that, and not every person who attempts suicide has depression. I don't have depression. I have bipolar disorder. I have depressive episodes, but 2 of the times I attempted suicide, I was in a mixed manic state, drowned in alcohol, and then substance abuse contributes to it as well. But I didn't need a reason, and I didn't even have a reason when I did it manic. In a 2-minute amount of time, put the plan together, grabbed a bottle of pills, and downed the whole thing. And I didn't even think right after, oh God, what did I do? I just thought, I wonder how long this will take. And the next time I did it, I had, again, overdosed, went to bed, thought I'd not wake up, and I woke up, went to the psychiatrist, and they said, you tried to kill yourself last night? I was like, yeah, but that's not why I'm here. I'm pissed because I woke up. I was in the hospital in the paper pajamas in like 2 hours, so we're not bad on time. I have to do this because I'm so bleached out I can't see the numbers without looking. So that's, you know, and in between all those hospital stays and stuff, when I would start to get on the edge, I would have these like half-assed suicidal thoughts, like I would stop looking both ways when I was crossing the street, or I would like stand near trees during thunderstorms thinking I might get hit by lightning. That way I wouldn't have to actually kill myself. Kind of like a very watered down version of suicide by cop. Like, let me just put myself in positions where I might die. So that kind of stuff, you know, it went on and on. And eventually all the madness stopped when the booze came out of my system, and then a good round of, you know, meds and treatment and everything came through. You know, things did eventually start to get better. I should have brought, where is it? I don't have it. When I was in treatment, and this is one thing that makes me sad, and it's probably the last point I want to touch on. When I was in treatment, which is basically prep school for AA to the tune of $1,000 a day, they gave us a big book. It's kind of like the Bible for Alcoholics Anonymous. And when we were leaving treatment, we would give it to our friends and they'd write their phone numbers, almost like a yearbook. It's so morbid. And then leave. Well, the recovery rates for addiction are low, period. So it's not uncommon, for people to die. I remember my first real sponsor, when she got sober, her sponsor said to her, "Welcome to AA, buy a black dress." So that book that I have with all those men's names in it, right now I have I have a lot of dead men's phone numbers, from either intentional overdose, suicide, they've actually killed themselves, and some were just overdose. My first real friend in 6 years that I made at rehab, the last treatment center that I was at, and we stayed in touch, and he stayed sober, and he was a chronic alcoholic and a very bad heroin addict. Not that there's a good one, but you get what I mean. Like bundles a day he was shooting. So, and he was doing good for a while. Then we fell out of touch and he died. And that was sad. I lived and they didn't, and I don't know why. I know some of them wanted it more than I did, and I know a lot of them tried harder than I did to get better. But I stayed and they left. Wherever dead men go, they went, if anywhere, So, at any rate, I'm still here. So I have what I hope is an opportunity to talk from the inside out, kind of shine a light on it and let people know, it happens. It's not always what it looks like either. I wasn't on the roof. You go through a medicine cabinet, you take some pills, and you go to bed. I didn't make a scene. I didn't leave a note. There was no spectacle. It was very quiet, and I could have just very easily drifted off and died. So for anyone who's watched this, if you were feeling kind of shitty when you started watching and you did hang in there, take another glance down below. If not, I think if you go to the business contacts in the top thing, there's an email address below. This is serious enough. If you're feeling that shitty and you need someone to just acknowledge that you're alive, send me an email. I might put that in the description too. So, hang in there. If you're having a rough time, if you're just getting info on suicide, I hope this gave you a little insight. If you felt like I was inappropriate, I'm talking about me, so I don't give a fuck what you think. If you're talking to your friends, be a little more delicate. Don't trip over the language too much, and remember, you don't need to be a pro. If you can do this to someone, you can help save their life. Thanks for watching. I'll catch up with y'all soon. Bye.